Hi, I'm Jenny. Welcome to my channel. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for spending some time with me today. So today I want to use some coloring pages to make either some backgrounds or some focal images that I can use in a journal. But I don't want to have to color all of it. So I'm coloring, kind of coloring parts of it and then using some inks, some distress ink to sort of color the rest beforehand. So it gives it kind of a watercolory look. And then I've also used some stamping and some embossing powder on a few of them. So you can see here I've got a few. This one I think would make a good background page. So this was a coloring page, and I kind of did it all in this sort of blues and greens, and then I colored in some stuff with some aqua markers, and then I used the embossing powder here, and I did a little stamping. Same sort of thing happened here. I started with the pinks in the background, and you see the water spots. I did some stamping and some embossing. I colored a little bit of it. So I think this would make a nice focal point. I think this would make a nice focal point as well. Again, I colored the whole thing with inks. I used the smoosh technique, which we're gonna do. And then I colored in a few leaves and did a little outlining and used a little embossing. And then I did that with these women as well. Same thing, same process. So I'll show you how that went. Those images all came from this particular coloring book, the Flower Art Coloring Book, which is a very thick one, and I have used lots of images from it before. So there are things in the back that are more background oriented. Then there are floral arrangements that would make nice focal points. Then there are some in a different style, a little more illustrative, fun, kind of whimsical style. And then you get women in flower dresses. And we've used some of these in the past to make paper dolls from. So you've seen this one before if you've been with me for a while. So today, since I already have some that are flowers, I thought I would use this coloring book, the Mindfulness Coloring Book. So these just have some designs, and there are animals. I really like that butterfly. That's pretty. Maybe that one would be a pretty one to do. Let's see. Tear that out. These have pretty nice weight paper. It's not quite as thin as regular copy paper, but it's not super thick either. So the watercolor, that dolphin's pretty. Ooh, I like the peacock. I'm not sure, it's a little big maybe. Is that a kitty cat? That looks like a fox. So I'm not really sure. I haven't gone through and pre-chosen any designs. Just thought we'd pick something. Mermaid, that's fun with the summertime feeling right now. I like that. Oh, that'd make a really nice background, wouldn't it, with that? Let's see. There's another butterfly. I'm always attracted to the butterflies, so. Oh, there's some Christmas ornaments. Those are pretty. Got my finger in where the other butterfly is, so just in case we want to go back to that. There's a heart. I like that. I don't really have anything in mind particularly to do with some of these. That's really pretty. But I just wanted to, make some fun ephemera. That might be fun with the elephant and a rhino. Pumpkin. I guess fall's coming. We could do a pumpkin. Stash it away for fall. I say fall's coming. It's late July, so it might be Might be the first week of August before this actually gets posted. But it's very tail end of July right now. Let's do the other butterfly too. And it's hotter than Hades here. So, you know, but it's pretty typical for July in Arizona, in the central Arizona. And I just tore the edge of that. So, well, there's one thing to be aware of, I suppose. The flower coloring book, this one, the pages are all perforated, so they come out really easily. You can see there's a perforation there. So they just come out really easily. That's okay. This is kind of, you know, we can always just not worry too much about that. I do want to cut off a little bit of the excess paper just so it's a little easier to kind of keep an eye on where the design is and how much water, you know. I'm not cutting very close right now because I'm gonna, you know, kind of smush it around and get paint and, well, maybe not paint, ink outside the lines. It's gonna be a little messy. And then when I'm done, I will go back and fussy cut. So I'm just gonna kind of start with that. Okay, so we're gonna do the smush technique. You've probably done this on index cards. Can't even think today. You've probably done this on index cards before. And so it just involves, you know, putting some ink on. You could do this on a plate. You could do it on a piece of plastic, like a plastic cutting board. You could do it on a piece of glass. You just want something that is plastic coating so that the water will bead up on it and the ink won't soak into whatever it is you've got it on. If you do it on paper, the ink's gonna soak into that paper. You can still get some transfer, so, you know, that's one way, I guess, to do some paper. But you can see this is on, this is just a piece of poster board that has been laminated. And so it just beads right up on here. Apparently I can't talk and do this at the same time. So you can see this is just gonna kind of smush around. We're gonna do a couple colors, so we'll kind of smush that in. So we just get, you know, and when it dries, it's always lighter. So we'll set that to the side for a second. Pick another color. Let's see. We'll use this one. Let's try a little bit of blue. Let's try some blue with that. So basically I'm just transferring some of the ink onto the plastic and then using some water to make it bead up. And then I'm just smushing my design down into it. And I am just really random. I am not even caring, you know, where it goes. And it'll kind of make purple in places and it'll kind of just be blue. And you can sort of just, you know, scoot it around and mop it up. Right, so you can see it's turning a little purpley here on here. And since we've done this one first, this one picked up most of the color. There's a little bit of color left there, so we could do another color. Let's try this green. This is peeled paint. The first one was aged mahogany, and the second one was peacock feathers. If you're interested, but use whatever you have. You know, use what you got. All right. These are ones I happen to like and I use a lot. So, and now this one's gonna get wetter. So that green will be not as dark. I may have to dry this a little bit and see what I got. All right. Oops. Okay, let me just wipe this off. All right, I am going to use my heat tool and dry these out a little bit and then decide where to put maybe another color, because I'm thinking I'm probably going to want some more color in here. Or we might color in some of it with markers. We'll see. So let me dry these with my heat tool, and I'll be back and I'll decide, you know, what to do next. Okay, I have dried those, and this one is pretty good. I think it could use a little more blue. And then this one definitely needs a good deal more color. The green is just barely there and the pink's just barely there. So I'm gonna do a little more blue and give it a little spritz. You know, if you don't have the Distress inks to do this with, just use some watercolor. And inexpensive watercolor from the dollar store will be fine. Just maybe use a big brush, spray a bunch of them, kind of use a big brush and just kind of dab it around, and you will get a lot of the same kind of effect, you know. Or you could even do some watercolor and put it on, like dab a bunch onto a mat or something like that, and you know, smush it just like we're doing this. I mean, so you don't have to have Distress inks to do this. Watercolors are fine, and they're very inexpensive. Just use the kids' watercolor. Just use that. That's fine. So you do want it dry before we move on, though. So this looks a little better. This one especially looks a little better. So okay, let me dry these again, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Those are dried. I think let's use some markers here. These are water-based markers. I'm not really sure if these are expensive or not. I like them. I got these at a thrift store. They were just in a baggie, you know, like this in a baggie at the thrift store, and I took a chance. They were like a couple dollars. So I took a chance, and I've liked them. They have a small tip on one end and a larger tip on the other. I think the colors are nice, and they are water-based. So if you spray them with water, you get a very watercolor effect, if that's what you're looking for. So they kind of have a translucence to them that's a little watercolory. So you can see what I mean as I'm coloring this in. There is some variation in the color as if it's watercolor, and as it dries, it will be a little bit lighter. And so I do like that about these markers. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know how much these are new or where you get them. I'm sure it says Letraset Aqua Marker, water-based marker. I'm sure you could order them probably from Amazon. This one is Storm Blue. It says they're made in the UK, so I'm not really sure. Yeah, Store Flat. I'm not really sure where you would buy them, but they're a lot of fun. You can see they kind of have a watercolor, and because I have already smushed ink down over it, it picks up the ink differently. You can see there are variations here. So there's that dark blue, there's a light blue periwinkle that we could do just a little bit. I don't want to color too much because the whole point is not to have to color the whole picture. I wanted to use the pictures, but I didn't want to color them all. So I'm just kind of hitting little bits and pieces there, and maybe along the outer edge here. So I just a little bit for emphasis, but not enough to have to color everything, and certainly not enough that I have to, pay close attention to what I'm doing. So there we go. Let's see. We might trying to decide whether I want to put some gold or something on the body there. I like the pink. And I'm being pretty messy with this. I'm gonna cut it out, so, you know, if it gets outside the lines, it is not a big deal. Like I said, I'm not interested in doing a lot of detailed coloring right now. It's just not what I want to do. Okay, so that's good. Let's stamp something. So maybe some text. This is Stampers Anonymous Reflections. So how about this one? This is the stamp. It looks like it's a dictionary definition for curiosity. I like that. Okay, so let's ink up the stamp here. And I'm not worrying too much if I get it all, because I'm just gonna kind of haphazardly, I'm just gonna stamp a little bit there. Maybe some here. Should we hit that with some embossing powder, or no? Let's see. I like the gold, but maybe a little embossing powder. Let's see, what do I have? I have gold, clear, maybe just some clear, just to give it a little shiny. Oh, I have my fan on. And where's my paper? I have my fan running because it's hot. So that's kind of going everywhere. I am not an expert with embossing powder, I can tell you, so. I inherited these from my mother-in-law, who had purchased them and then decided she didn't want them after all. But now I have some here, so let me get rid of that. So I'm just never quite sure, you know, so I just do some basic embossing. I'm not really sure what else to do with them. So let's see how this turns out. So I'm going to turn on that heat tool and we'll see. Okay, so I used clear embossing powder, so it just made the gold kind of really shiny and stand out a little more. It's kind of cool in the background here. So when I cut that off, I might save some of this little bits and pieces for collage fodder. Now it's a question of what else we might want to do. So I'm thinking that I might want to put a little more embossing powder on. And these are embossing markers, so you just use them with the clear embossing powder, or you can put a color over them. And it creates a glossy line. So I'm just gonna do this, and maybe around here. And maybe his eyes here. Might I'm just going to fill this in a little bit to see. I mean, he doesn't really have, the rest of his body isn't there. So I'm wondering if I just kind of make a little body there, how will that look? So we can always cut it off, like if I don't like it. This is really lumpy. I think I feel like I need to go through and, you know, break up those lumps. But, oh well. Okay, so got that embossing powder on there. Throw that back into the jar. All right, let's heat that up and see how that looks. Okay, that looks really great, I think. I really like that kind of wet look. And down here, the gold embossing showed up through the black, but it just kind of reinforced that in powder. So I think I'm going to kind of leave that. I know like this is kind of part of the wing and this is sort of his body, and it wasn't there, but whatever. Okay, so I think we're done with that one. Let's cut him out and see. Although I don't know, now I'm looking at him, wonder if I should do like the black. Should I do a black line all the way around to kind of give us a pretty black shiny line? No, I think I like him the way he is. Okay, let's give him a quick cut and we'll see how he looks. Okay, that's how he looks. And you can see the little gold here, kind of gives it some interest. I'm gonna leave those antennae sort of stuck together with that piece of paper in between until I'm ready to use him. That way they don't get torn off in storage. And then when I'm ready to use him, I can trim that down and glue those down, or I can draw new ones depending on how I use it. But I think he's a lot of fun. I really like that, and I didn't have to color the whole thing, but he has some nice color on him, so I'm really happy with that one. So you go over there. Now let's see what we can do to this one. Okay, let's see. Got rose blush. Yeah, that should be okay. I'll just give the body a little bit darker here. All right, let's see. What else? I have some darker pink and some lighter pink. This one is cranberry, and this one is flamingo pink. And I might just do just the ones right here close to the body. And you can see I am not worrying too much about whether or not there's a stripe there. I am just putting a little color on there just to kind of draw some attention to the center. And you can see too how much lighter this is once it's dry. So just like watercolors, the Distress inks dry much lighter. Okay, so that's nice. I just want like a dark outline out around this, just to give it a little outline, little separation. I know once we cut it, it won't have a background, but I also know that whatever I put it on, I'm probably gonna want some kind of separation. So I'm just gonna add that dark line around the outer edge. Just to give it a little something. Because I don't want to color it all, but I do want it pop a little bit. And of course we could always outline it once it's on whatever we're going to put it on. So I could wait and do the outline then. I can do a little bit now and then have that there. I really like using coloring pages because I like the artwork, but I don't always want to color the whole thing. Especially something like this that has a lot of detail. Lots of little details to color. If I were going to color it, I would probably color it all a really pale color, like the whole thing, and then go through with a couple darker colors and just do little bits and pieces, sort of like I'm doing now. Let's see. What else? Should we add a little bit of dark here? Between. And you can see I am not particularly good at outlining or necessarily coloring things. These markers, as I said, are water-based and they kind of bleed a little, but that's okay because I like the kind of watercolor look. And so I think that just adds to it. And some days I'm just not very good at the little detail things, which is why I don't always want to color it all. Some days I have the patience, some days I don't, some days my hands work better than others. I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. Okay. I feel like I probably should have colored that a darker color here. And I kind of want to fill that in. It's got a lot of gaps there. And I don't think I want those gaps when I'm cutting it out. I think it's going to be hard to cut out with too much of a gap, so we'll just attach it all. Okay. And let's see. I wonder if the embossing powder will stick to that. Let's find out. It might have to have something different to stick to. I don't know. I've never tried it with just plain old markers, but we'll see. Let's see if it sticks. A little bit. Didn't stick very much, but it did stick a little bit. So, okay. Well, now we know. All right. Let's see. In that case, let's use a clear marker to fill in the body. And I'm not real worried about it bleeding. As I said, we can just cut it off. So, you know, if it's out around the edge, it's easy to take care of. Here we go. here, like if I wanted that to be gone. There we go. All right, let's heat that up and see what we've got. Okay, I am back. I've done that. So the center's kind of glossy now, which is nice. It's all glossy, but I'm not real happy with the butterfly itself. I feel like it's just not dark enough. So I'm going to try. Let's see if we can try to make a little more color. See if we can try to make a little purpley kind of with the red and the blue. Let's see what we get. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of mix that a little bit. Get a little more purple color. It's more red, but it's a purpley red. And go back in and see if I can get a little more color on here. Okay, I think that might be a little better. Let's wipe that off. And let's dry this. Okay, I'm liking that color a lot better. I like it's a little bit darker. It's a little more purpley with the red. It's kind of a berry, more of a berry red. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. I think I'm just gonna cut these off and then add antenna whenever I use it because those are so tiny. So let's see what we have. Okay, sorry, got it all cut out. And as you can see, after when I was cutting, I really decided that I didn't want it to be the body quite as fat as I made it. I had colored in more and made it a little fatter, and I thought it looked better not so fat after I did that. So I just cut it back off again. Wasn't a big deal. Although it did occur to me that I didn't stamp anything on this one. So it would be good maybe to stamp something. So I have this stamp as well. That is, I don't know, it just says lots of different flora, specialty bouquets, piano forte. It's all kinds of little writing. There's a little check and stuff on there. So I think I'm just gonna kind of stamp this on there as well. I don't have a block that big, so I'm just gonna see what we get. Maybe this way so it covers the wing. Okay, let's try the other side. Looks like I got more of it on, on my mat than I did on there, but it could just be that it's not showing up very well. Yeah, there's not a lot on there. Okay. There's a little bit of gold. It's really hard to see. It's very subtle, which makes it pretty. I mean, I could put some embossing powder on it, but I think I kind of like it without. So it just makes it subtle, adds another little layer of details. It's really hard to see, I think, on camera probably. And I do like that it kind of goes across that as well. So I think that one's pretty too. So you get the idea. This is really just something I thought would be a fun way to use up some coloring pages and create some focal points or some backgrounds if you use a whole page. You know, and just smush some stuff around, throw some watercolor paint on there, use some embossing powders if you have them. If you don't, just use some different markers and dress them up a little bit. So, you know, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you think this is, you know, something you might do. Until next time, remember, use what you have to make your life more beautiful. Bye.